Now, have you actually taken a risk that has paid off for you? And have you taken a risk that has not paid off for you? Because that's the Mars in the first house that we've been talking about. The Mars in Libra can be about being a risk taker when it comes to relationships. You'll take the risk over someone else, for example, or even your choice of words, as in pregnancy virgin. That was probably a bit of a risk to even use that as your title of your book. So, have you taken a risk that has paid off for you or not paid off for you around mothering?
So I think for a start, Pregnancy Virgin, my book was such a personal story for me. I think it was a risk publishing that in some ways. There's a part of me that hoped that my story would resonate with others. And there was also a part of me that was terrified that, nobody would enjoy it. So that was a huge risk, but one that I thought was worth taking because I really felt that there weren't enough pregnancy books on the market that I had found that were short, anecdotal, easy to read, but also based on scientific fact. So I really felt like there was a place for my book, even though there are so many fantastic pregnancy books on the market available. I really felt like mine had a point of difference, and I really hoped that the women who needed it, it would find them. That was my main goal with that book. I really felt like it would get into the hands of the right people.
I agree, and I'm hoping more people will get it in their hands as a result of this podcast as well. They're gonna become more aware of you and the book, as a result of this, and I hope it does reach more people and help more people as
Thank
a
you, Penny.
result. Yeah.
You, Penny. And then I think also in terms of risk taking and motherhood, I found that the risks that paid off for me were the ones where I could let my children prove how resilient they were. So things where they might be hesitant to go off on a full day school holiday camp, for example, encouraging them to go through with that. I'm kind of like, am I doing the right thing? Am I not doing the right thing? But they've always come back in a really positive place. Or things like they had to fly to their grandparents' house unaccompanied for a couple of nights. So they were kind of, really nervous about that, but it really gave them that sense of empowerment that they could do that. And I was like, well, they're things that are, I know that those things are relatively safe. So I felt like that was a risk worth taking. But one risk that definitely didn't pay off for me was when my husband and I were invited to a wedding in Vanuatu. Children were invited also, but this particular island was fairly remote. There wasn't a real hospital on the island. There were no televisions at the resort. And I just felt that it was the type of place where it was safer to leave the children at home.
Mhm.
So we left the children at home with the grandparents and we jetted off for 6 nights in Vanuatu, which was lovely. And I'm sure that would work for some families. But I think it's fair to say for our family, it was a bad decision. I think the children and the grandparents felt that was too long. The children were only 4 and 5. And by the time we got back, the children were really angry and upset with us. And the grandparents were exhausted.
Yeah.
And so we learnt that that was their limit. We'd left the children at home with grandparents for a night or two before, but we learned that there is a limit to that. Just because a night or two is okay. That
Limit for
doesn't mean a week is
everyone.
fine.
Interesting. Well, you're all back together now, which is a good thing. So obviously you survived it, but that's one of the lessons. Like we talked about, you've got all these placements in the ninth house of learning. That's one of the lessons that you've gained. So good to get the lesson.
And I think that, yes, like you say, I think, parents can go through these things, but remembering it and learning from it and not doing it again in the same way, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, making the mistake is one thing, but actually learning from it and not doing it again isn't always straightforward. And I think, I hope that that is something that I am doing, and I'm certainly making a conscious effort to do that. And I think, as you have said, I think that does correlate with my birth chart, so that's nice to know.
It does. It does. Everything correlates with the birth chart. We just don't realize it.
Yeah. I'm learning that. That's so true.